If you are struggling to have success with meta ads, this is the only video you need to watch. If you watch it all the way through and follow step by step, you will be set up for success with the absolute best meta ads framework. It's the exact strategy that I use and have taught to hundreds of online entrepreneurs that has completely transformed the results of their meta ads. All right, before you begin setting up your meta ads, you need to understand the following two things here. This is extremely important. The first thing, what is your goal for your meta ads? Are you going to be running a lead magnet, right, for lead generation? Are you doing something like a low ticket offer directly to a sales page? Is it a service business, right? Like maybe it's a brick and mortar service. Is it e-commerce, right? Like what is the goal that you want the user ultimately to take? Right, so for a lead magnet, obviously it's the opt-in. For the LTO, it's going to be a sale. For the service, it might be, book an estimate, right? So point being, an e-com is probably, again, going to be the sale of a purchase. But point being, you need to understand before you even begin thinking about your creative and all that stuff, because this is going to ultimately determine how you think about all that, what is your overall goal? Now, once you establish what's the overall goal, you have to look at the entire funnel. And when I say funnel, I don't just mean like the sales page and the thank you page. I mean the entire process of the customer to go from cold traffic to sale. You need to look at what does that look like, right? So your Facebook ads purpose in that whole funnel, in that customer journey, is going to be your traffic engine, right? So your Facebook ads, their job is not to sell. Their job is not to make someone buy, not to make someone opt in. Their job is to drive traffic to the page that does the selling, that gets the person to opt in, etc. Right? So that's another thing we want to understand, because we cannot create effective creative if we don't understand what our goal is, and we don't understand the place of our ads as our primary traffic engine in our overall funnel. Now, another consideration before you start setting up your ads, you need to think about who are the ads going to. Are these top of funnel ads going to cold traffic? Are they middle of funnel ads going to warm traffic? Or are they bottom of funnel ads going to hot traffic? Because you're going to speak to each of these different groups of people in your ads completely differently. So, quick recap. Before you start getting into the following lessons, make sure you understand what's the goal of the ads right now you're trying to set up. Do you understand, at least you should by now, that the purpose of your ads is not to do the selling, but it is rather to drive the traffic to the place that does the selling or gets the opt-in? And finally, who are you marketing to? Is it brand new people who've never heard of you, who would be hearing cold? Is it people who have checked you out but haven't taken the next step, which would be in warm? Or is it your really high intent people? Maybe they initiated the checkout, maybe they booked a call, but whatever, haven't taken the final action. Take these things into consideration, work through these things, make sure you understand these things, then I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, if you're familiar with tofu, mofu, bofu, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, you can skip this one. I'll give you permission. I know I told you in the intro, don't skip. This is one that you can skip because it's not technically a step. But for those of you who are brand new to marketing, to digital advertising, this is going to be really important because it's going to help you frame who you're messaging your ads to, your overall strategy as you're building things out, and it's going to give you some ideas to prime the pump of some of the things that we'll talk about later on, of things that you'll be able to achieve that are really powerful when it comes to driving conversions. So it's important that you understand that all of your prospects, customers, etc., are going to fall into one of three categories. They're going to fall into your tofu, your mofu, or your bofu. Everybody who you market to is going to be in one of these buckets or categories or whatever you want to call them. So your tofu, this is your top of funnel. These are your cold people, right? They have never heard of you. Your main purpose, if you are running tofu ads, is awareness. You want to make sure people know that you exist and that you have a product, a service, whatever it is, that can give them what they want, can solve the problem they have, can ease the pain they're in, whatever it is. That's your main goal. Your MOFU, these are your warm people. So typically, these are going to be people that you'll retarget, and again, we'll show you how down below, who have already engaged with your brand to some degree. They know you exist at least somewhat. They've been on your website, they've engaged with your ads, they've engaged with your socials organically, whatever it is, they're a little bit familiar with you, right? So your goal here is really just to re-engage with them. And some of the most effective ways to do this are social proof. So most of our MOFU ads, rather, it's a lot of testimonials, FAQs, answering common questions, and then fielding common objections. Now, your BOFU, these are your hot people, right? This is the hottest traffic. These are people who have typically either done one of two things. They have engaged with our MOFU ads, so they've clicked on one of our MOFU ads and they've shown an additional level of interest, or they made it all the way to our checkout page on our sales page if we're selling low ticket or something like that. They made it all the way, they initiated the checkout, which is the highest level of intent, but they didn't purchase. So it's important you understand that these concepts, these are really going to play a major role in the overall strategy and effectiveness of your meta campaigns, and having just a basic understanding of this concept here is going to go a long way going forward. All right, this is where a lot of people get hung up, so we're going to keep it real simple and streamline things so you can get this set up in a jiff. Now, your MetaPixel and your custom conversion events. These are two absolutely crucial things you have to understand for running effective meta ads. Your MetaPixel is a line of code that you generate for your business, and you put it on all of your websites, landing pages, anywhere people go to visit you online, and it passes data back to Meta about what types of users are going on your site. Custom conversions allow you to use that same pixel and create custom events to tell Meta what's happening. For example, I create a custom conversion event when somebody buys my course, and that tells Meta a very high level piece of data. And then if I have 1,000 people buying my course, Meta understands the commonalities of those people, their age range on average, their interest on average, their location on average, all of these things. And as a result, it starts to use its Meta AI algorithms to tailor my ads and optimize my ads towards the type of people that take action from my ads and buy my product, right? So this is absolutely crucial because not only does it pass all that data along to Meta, it also allows you through your custom conversion events to see which of your ad campaigns and inside of those campaigns, which creatives are generating the results. We're going to talk down below about the importance of creative, especially right now in the current landscape of Meta. On some of my campaigns, I have over 50 creatives. Without my custom conversion, I wouldn't know which creatives people are responding to and actually are generating the sales. So that's how Meta pixels and custom conversions work. Next, let's look at actually how to set them up. All right, let's talk about setting up and installing your MetaPixel. We're going to make it really quick and really easy. Before we do, I just want to let you know about this one really helpful tool because I use it every time I'm doing anything with pixels. It's called the MetaPixel Helper. It's a Google Chrome extension. So you can just search MetaPixel Helper Chrome extension on Chrome and install it. And what it does is if you go on any website, and this is any website, it does not have to be a website you own or built with your domain, does not have to be a website with your pixel, any website. It's going to show you if there's a pixel on the site and if it's active or not. This is really helpful for two reasons. The first is this is by far the quickest way to make sure your pixel is active on your site after you install it. The second is for competitor analysis. Anytime we're looking to enter a new market, like pickleball, for example, I'm always looking at what courses or what competitors, depending on what we're selling or doing, are already in the market. And one thing I always check is, do they have a MetaPixel installed? Because it's a very easy tell if they have completely no idea what they're doing in their advertising. And there have been multiple times, pickleball being one, where most of the people didn't even have a pixel, which gives me really valuable data about the competition and gives me more confidence entering a market with already some established brands, because I know they don't know what they're doing, and I know what I do know what I'm doing, and that's a huge leg up, and it will be for you as well. All right, back to the technical side. So first thing we need to do is make sure that we are at business.facebook.com in our business suite. Once we are in our business suite, we are going to come down here to the settings on the left-hand menu. It's going to be the gear. You're looking for settings. And when you are in settings, you are going to look for the data sources drop down and click the arrow to drop it down. And then look for data sets and pixels. This is where you will see any pixels that you currently have. And it's also where we can create a new pixel. So in order to create a pixel, we're going to click the blue add button. And we're going to create it. Now it is now called a data set, but we can go ahead and create this new data set. Now make sure you don't have this checked. It's checked by default. Just uncheck it. There's no need to do that. And you're going to go ahead and just name the pixel. So I'm just going to name this default pixel, since it's for testing purposes. And we're going to go ahead and click create and let that load. Now it's going to ask you what ad account you want this pixel linked to. For example, you can see a few different ad accounts here. These are for the 3 different businesses that we have under this business portfolio in Meta. If you've not already set up an ad account, you can do so right over here in the ad account section. This is literally just setting up a dedicated ad account and linking your credit card or debit card to it. This is just how you're going to run and pay for the ads through Meta. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm not going to select any of these, and it's going to create a new data set. So now in here we see the default pixel data set. This is something that's really important, and this is something where a lot of people get hung up. You need to make sure that when you're ready and you have your Meta business page, your Instagram perhaps, or your ad account, you need to make sure that you connect other assets to your pixel here. So you can go ahead and click connected assets, click connect assets, other business assets, and here's how we can choose which business we want to connect it to. And it asked us to do that earlier, but you might be setting it up before you have that ad account set up, in which case at any time you can just come back here and go to connected assets. All right, so now we're ready to actually get our Facebook pixel on our website, our sales page, our opt-in page, maybe multiple pages, whatever it is. What we need to do now is go to the Events Manager. So right here on the left-hand side, we'll click on Events Manager, and it's going to open up a new tab with the Meta Events Manager. When this opens up, we can now go to Data Sets. And you might be wondering, why don't we see our default data set? Well, it's because when you come in here, and this is where a lot of people get confused, because Meta doesn't tell you, it defaults to sorting by specific ad accounts here. So it had me right here in the default TZ Pickleball ad account. Well, if I go to the top one, audience to cash flow, that allowed me to select my entire business portfolio, and now I see the default pixel. So if you come in here and you're not seeing it, it might be because you have another ad account, but if you don't have any ad accounts, you should see it, but just something to take into consideration, because I've seen people bang their head against the wall for a long time for this very reason, which is really on Meta. They don't do a great job making it clear. So the next thing we want to do is actually go ahead and install our pixel on our sites. So in order to do this, we're going to look for these options down below, and we're looking for this one, gather website events from browser activity. Meta changes this interface sometimes. This is actually a little bit different than the last time I came in here. But at the end of the day, all you are actually looking for is just whatever allows you to set up the MetaPixel and get the manual pixel code right here. So right now, this is where it is. It might look different at the time of watching it. It's okay. I'll put an update, or you can reach out. But you're really just looking for the place where you can get your MetaPixel code. So we're going to choose install code manually. And this is the code right here that we're going to put on our site. All right, so in order to put this code on your site, you can just click that nice copy button right here. And then you're just looking for wherever your software that you're using has you put in tracking code. So I'm on Go High Level, and in Go High Level, I just have to come into my funnel or my website, and I have to do this on a per funnel basis, per website basis, do this for each one. And I come in here to my settings, and I'm looking for the head tracking code, and I paste in that pixel. Now if I click save, it's going to save these settings here. And once we've pasted it in here, our pixel is installed, and we can use MetaPixel Helper or go look in Meta to make sure it's actually firing and active. Now, you might be using something different than High Level. You could be anywhere else. You're just really looking for your settings inside of that software to install the MetaPixel, and you're just going to put the code in there. Now, one thing to take into consideration is that some platforms do just ask you for your pixel ID. And sometimes, it's rare, but it is sometimes applicable. All you have to actually do to install your pixel on certain platforms is just copy this ID right here and paste it in. But whatever option it is, that's how you're going to set up and install your MetaPixel. We're going to talk in the next lesson about how to set up your custom conversion events. Okay, let's talk about setting up your custom conversion event. Now, quick recap on why this is so crucial. It serves two main purposes. The first is it allows you to identify specific actions to Meta. This is particularly useful for the really high level and high intent actions, especially sales, because Meta will then look at all of that data of those users, and it will find commonalities between them and use that to better feed its AI to find higher level intent people and lower your cost per result, at least in theory. The second is that it allows you to track these specific events like sales when you are running multiple ad creatives, as you should be, which we'll talk about further on in the course. If you have, let's say, 50 creatives in a single campaign like I do sometimes, you need to know which creatives are driving the sales. Those are the ones that people are engaging with, those are the ones that are working, and that data is extremely important to scale your ads effectively. So now that we've got a quick recap on the importance of the conversion, let's look at how to set it up. This is going to be really easy if you came here straight from the last lesson for the Pixel, because we're still here in the Events Manager. But if you're starting fresh, just go to eventsmanager.facebook.com. Make sure you're in your business suite here, and you can come here to Custom Conversions. This is where we can see all of our existing conversions and create new ones. So I'm going to go Create Custom Conversion. First thing I like to do, just to make sure I don't forget, is under Data Sources, you want to select the pixel. So we just created the default pixel. We haven't set up any events on it or anything, so it's showing yellow, but we're going to create the pixel that we have just created that we want to set this conversion event up under. And we're going to name it. Naming it is quite simple. You're just going to effectively be what it is. Now, you do want to be intentional with your naming conventions to make sure you can stay organized. You might get to a point where you have 20 plus custom conversions, and you want to make sure that you can easily identify what's what and find what's what. So I'm just going to name this test event. You can leave action source as website. You can leave the event as all URL traffic. All we need to do is paste something right here. We're going to leave this as contains, because what we're doing here is we're going to go back to our funnel. Now, let's say this was a sales page right here. And after the sales page, I would have a checkout page first, right? So let's just, for the sake of test, create my checkout page. And after my checkout page, I would have a confirmation page. All right, so what we're looking for is the unique section of the URL on whichever page the person lands on after taking the action. So in this example, they would come here for the sales page, then they would go to the checkout page. And what if I'm trying to tell Meta what a purchase is, it would be the page someone would reach after they've purchased, which would be the confirmation page. So what I would do is I would take everything after the / here in the URL, and I would copy it, and I would paste it in here. So we know this is a test event, or a sale, or a opt-in, or whatever it is, because somebody from our ad reached a URL on the site that this pixel is on, and that URL confirmed the unique element, which is everything after the /. And the only way that somebody could reach that URL is by purchasing our product on our checkout page. Once we've gone ahead and created that, all we have to do is click create, and it's good to go. Now we have our custom conversion. And now that our pixel's set up and our conversion's ready to go, we have the technical back end of things ready, and we can now jump into our ads manager, and we can set up the targeting, we can set up our budget, and all that fun stuff. So I'll see you in the following lessons. Okay, the next thing that I do is I set up my creative assets for my campaign. I do this so when I go into the ads manager to set up the campaign itself, I've already got my creative. We're going to do this with the copy as well, and I can build everything out all at once. It's more efficient. The easiest way to have success with meta ads is knowing what the algorithm wants to eat and feeding it what that is. Right now, that is creative output and creative variance. So if I come to the ad library for our pickleball course that we saw earlier, right now we've got 50 creatives. And you might think, wow, that's a ton. I don't think it's nearly enough. Now, I want to share with you my strategy for creatives, some of my rules that I like to follow, and then my strategy for pumping out creatives fast when you're not a designer, don't have a ton of creativity like me. It doesn't have to be complicated. So let's touch on a few things here. Since creative is king, how much creative should you have? If you're starting a brand new campaign, I would have a minimum of 10 creatives. Bare minimum in my ad set. And we're going to talk about the campaign structure and how to put these creatives in correctly further on when we set that up. But right now we're just talking pure creative output. I would shoot to have at least 10 creative assets ready before I go to the next section of the course. Now, in a perfect world, you would have a 50-50 balance between images and videos. The reality is this is not achievable or sustainable for most people. Videos just take way longer to create and are a much higher barrier to entry to do it well. Pretty much anybody can go in Canva and make some half decent image ads, and if you're pretty good at Canva, you could probably make 10 good image ads in 15-20 minutes. So if I was just starting out with a brand new campaign, I would shoot for at least 2 videos if I could and 8 images, but I do understand that for some people it's just way more feasible to just have 10 images, and listen, 10 images are better than 1 image or 1 video or nothing, right? Now, how can you put images out fast? How can you get these 10 images? This is the framework that I like to follow. So the first thing I do before I even go to create the images is I think about my messaging buckets, right? So I typically try to have 3 or 4 messaging buckets. And these are the things I'm going to be conveying in my images. So this will look like, for a pickleball course, for example, price point, right? So like value proposition. So price/value prop. This will look like credibility and authority. Right? So authority, so for example, our pro coach, right? That builds instant credibility and authority. Results, right? So what does the customer want to get out of it? Results/goal. And then I'll also, once I'm at that point, go for like social proof, right? So these are my different messaging focuses and buckets. Then what I'll do is in Canva, I'll just create either like 4 to 5 different templates. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second here. So then what I'm doing is I'm just taking different messaging and putting it into one of my templates, right? And I'm mixing and matching as well. So I might have like a template that, and then I'll put the price/value prop plus the authority, or some social proof plus the results you're going to get, right, into these different templates. So here's what this looks like, in my real Canva account. So if we scroll through here, like these are all the same template. It's just a different image here. So we have different age groups, different ethnicities, etc. So I'm just testing this image against all of these different I'm testing the same image, really, the same template with just these unique people and these unique avatars. Here we have one of our social proof templates, right? And I'm just putting in different testimonials. We're also running, if we look in here, a bunch of video testimonials, right? So more variation on the social proof side. Here we have some different variations of more or less the same picture. So like this is the same picture. One is just a pure branding awareness focus. One has the credibility / authority. Again, we have kind of like a feature or a feature image really, and some social proof / authority. Here we have, again, like course features, right? And then we have our branding and we have our coach. Here we have the same image, but this is focused on customer outcome. Same thing, customer outcome plus authority plus feature image plus a different template, right? Same message, play better pickleball, different picture. Same feature points, different picture, right? Here we have new picture, value proposition, social proof, right? So you get the idea. I'm just creating these different templates and I'm mixing and matching my different messaging buckets with these different templates. And that gives me a really easy way to get a lot of creative out fast without having to even be a good designer. So once you've got your minimum of 10 creatives ready to go, I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, listen, remember, your creative designs do not have to be anything crazy, just like what you saw me build. Those are super simple, minimal design skills, but they work because of those messaging buckets we talked about. However, if you are needing a little bit of inspiration, go ahead and Google the Meta Ads library. This is where I was showing you the ads from our pickleball course, but what's great is you can come in here and you can search by all ads, and you can search for any business, and if they're running ads, it will show up. So I can come in here and I can search for anything and I can see what ads they're running. So again, we'll just use our pickleball course for example. If I was a competitor of us, I would come in here and I would look at what is Transition Zone Pickleball doing, and especially what are they doing that's working. Now, how can you figure out what might be working well? Well, you can see the dates that ads started running. So when I come into the ads manager and I'm trying to look for ads that I think are probably doing pretty well, I'm typically looking for ads that have been running a little bit longer, right? So this one's been running for a couple weeks. That's a good sign, but like this one's been running for over a month. So that means this one must be producing pretty well. Right? And a lot of times you might see people have had some certain ads running for several months, which is usually a good indicator that ad's working. Now, a couple things to take into consideration. Just because someone's leaving an ad on and it's running a while, it doesn't mean it is working. You want to make sure that you're approaching that with the understanding that the business is actually successful. Additionally, don't just go rip off and steal people's ads, but you can get a really good idea of what kind of designs they're using, what messaging they're using, what their video scripts are like, and that can at least kind of get the fire lit a little bit and get just creative juices flowing and point you in the right direction of what you could start doing in your own version of. Okay, when it comes to our copy, I'm just going to be honest with you. I do not put a ton of consideration into copy. These are the things I do consider. The first thing is which bucket that we talked about earlier are my ad campaigns in. Are we in, I should start with tofu, our top of funnel? Are we in our mofu, our middle of funnel? Or are we in our bofu, our bottom of funnel? Ultimately, this is going to be the main consideration because depending on if I'm marketing to someone who's cold, if I'm marketing to someone who's warm, or if I'm marketing to someone who's hot, I'm going to speak to them differently. Once I know what my bucket is, right? So let's say in this case it's top of funnel. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I go into ChatGPT or Claude or a large language model and I give it a verbal description using the dictate feature of what my goal is, what my product is. Ideally, you have something like a project already inside of GPT and it already knows all about the product. Like for example, for Transition Zone Pickleball, I can go into my project in GPT and I can tell it I need a new copy for a top of funnel ad and I'll describe a little bit about it. And it's going to give me pretty good results because it knows a lot about the business already because I've been feeding it now for several months. But I don't go crazy with copy, right? I find that the creative has way more pull than the copy. There are a few things, obviously, you want to make sure you do have. So let's look at some of our copy. One thing, especially for top of funnel, is going to be a call out, just making it crystal clear who it's for. This also applies on our sales page. I was doing an avatar call out. Then I'm typically asking for something more that's like an emotional appeal or leaning into their problems that they're having, right? So you want more confidence, you want to have more fun, you want to win more. And then I'm kind of introducing the hero, which is our product. Well, now you can train directly, and if you can, throw in some authority with former world number one and fan favorite Zane Naverto inside our product, right? And then I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of some of the outcomes, some of the things that they have, some of the features, etc. That's pretty much it for top of funnel, and I'm just always following this formula. And guess what, guys? I keep things really simple. If I have a copy that's working, as you can see, pretty much all my top of funnel ads have that same copy. This is meta ads made easy, right? We're not overcomplicating things. We're doing the simplest things that work the best. Now, when it comes to middle of funnel, then we're going to have some different messaging, right? So this is, hey, still looking to level up your pickleball game? And then this is more social proof focused. As you can see, the ad creative is social proof. So again, here's a little bit of a different middle of funnel, like still looking to level up your pickleball game, see why over 600 players in the world trust us, right? So like we mentioned earlier, when it comes to our creative, that's really going to be our big focus. So when it comes to our copy, my main consideration here is really where in the customer journey is the person. And as long as I provide an LLM sufficient information that it needs to craft decent copy, in my experience, I'm in good shape, and I'm just being honest with you. That's the whole point of this, right? Meta ads made easy. This is what I do in my own ads, and this is what has been working and what continues to work. Now, of course, we're not throwing out AI slop copy, right? Proofread, edit, make sure it's good. But again, point being, as you probably know, you get out of a large language model what you put into it. So in my experience, if you put the right inputs into that LLM, the copy it will spit out for you will be more than sufficient, as long as you are nailing the creative output, the creative messaging buckets, etc. All right, it's time to create the campaign. This is where everything we've done up to this point comes together. We can get our ads live. Now, real quick, I'm going to assume for this example that we are setting up a top of funnel campaign. There's a whole dedicated section in the course to retargeting, which would be middle and bottom of funnel. If you are setting something up for middle and bottom of funnel, you have my permission to skip this video and go there. If you're doing something for top of funnel, lead magnet, direct to sale, low ticket, whatever it is, stick around here. I'm going to show you how to set it up. Additionally, one thing to remember, when setting up ads, Meta's going to have all these pop-ups and all these things telling you to do this, do that, click this, click that, and it's going to make these big promises about how it will increase your campaign performance by X amount. Ignore that stuff and just stick to the video tutorial here. All right, let's jump in. We want to go to adsmanager.facebook.com, or if you're in our business manager or business suite, we can come in here to ads manager. And then from ads manager, we want to go to campaigns right here. Now we're going to click on the green create button, and it's going to ask what our campaign objective is. I highly advise that you never touch awareness, traffic, engagement, or app promotion unless you are doing something very specific for apps. You're going to either be using the leads or sales. Now, my personal opinion is that I always use sales. Even if I'm creating a lead magnet, I always use sales, because Meta is going to show the ads to people who have a track record of doing these things. So traffic, for example, you're just getting clicks. And Meta's going to show your ad to every grandma that clicks every link that she sees. That's not what you want. You want people who have a high intent. So 9 times out of 10, I'm using sales, even if it's for lead gen, assuming the lead gen is going to sell something down the road, I'm going to pick sales. We'll go ahead and click continue. This is going to open up our campaign. Now, the strategy that I use when setting up my Meta campaigns is I do one campaign, and in that campaign I have one ad set, and I have all of my ads under that one ad set, and I give Meta control of the budget and let it spread the budget between the different creatives all inside that one ad set. So that's how we're going to set this up. This is the simplest way, by the way, by far. So if that made no sense to you, that's fine. Just continue to follow along. Campaign name. Let's say this was going to be a brand new campaign for our pickleball course, and it was going to be a top of funnel. I might do something like tofu test 1.0. And then in my next version, I would do test 1.1, work my way up to 2.0, so on and so forth. I don't touch any of this stuff here. We're going to continue to scroll down. Here's our budget. So you can see it's going to be on the campaign budget or the ad set budget. So ad set, you can just keep it on campaign. It's going to automatically distribute it to the best performers, right? So just keep it on campaign. Your budget, you can put in right here. Personally, I recommend a minimum of $30 per day. We'll talk about in the next section on scaling and descaling, how long to let that ride, how to know when to shut it off or scale it, etc. But minimum $30 a day for Meta to be able to do its thing. You don't have to touch any of this stuff here. You can leave it all as is. Special ad categories, one consideration. There are certain areas that Meta has specific rules to when it comes to advertising, such as the things you see here. If you fall under one of these, you will need to select it. But 9 times out of 10, that shouldn't be a problem. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and click next. So what we just did is we set up the ad set level, or we set up the campaign level rather. Now we are in the ad set level. Personally, I never name this because I just do one ad set. And this is where we're going to choose our conversion event that we created, right? So right here, we can leave this as is, and it's going to ask us, what pixel do you want to use? I'm going to use the TZP pixel. I know it's not the default pixel we created earlier, but that was strictly for a demo purpose. It's not connected to anything, so I really couldn't use it in a real life case test here. Then you're going to choose your conversion event. This is the conversion event that you would have set up in the previous lesson. So you can go ahead and choose whichever one it is. And you can continue to scroll through down here. If you have saved audiences, this is where you would put that in. Assuming you're brand new, you won't have these, and we will talk about saved audiences further on in the course. Continuing on through our targeting, our location. This is where we can put in the location. You can do it as broad as a country or as refined as a zip code. Do keep in mind you have the ability to include and exclude. So I've had clients in the past, mostly a service-based business, where they wanted to run to certain zip codes and exclude other zip codes. That's totally doable. But if you're someone like me that's doing online courses and coaching, typically you're just going to be doing it by country as a whole. If we go to show more controls, this is where it allows us to toggle our minimum age. What's interesting is that Meta has no longer given us the ability to select age ranges like it used to. Now it just gives us the ability to select a minimum up to 25. Exclude custom audiences. We're not going to worry about that right now. Languages. And right here you can see it says suggest an audience. So this is where it gives us a little bit more control like it used to. Now notice they've changed the verbiage to suggest an audience, right? And basically it is a suggestion. It's wanting to be clear about that. The AI at this point is going to do most of this for you, but I still do suggest you suggest an audience. And here we have our old audience control where we can do minimum and maximum age. We can sort by gender, and we can give detailed targeting suggestions. So of course, we just have pickleball. And here we can see pickleball. And again, it's going to be our suggestion. And Meta makes that very clear that it is just that, a suggestion. Meta is basically removing most of the manual control because they want to remove the need for you to have to hire a media buyer, which is the reason I'm making this course. All you really need to know at this point is what buttons to push and how to push them and when to push them. So I would suggest giving them one broad suggested interest. You can get a little bit more refined. So if we were to go here, we could put in additional audiences if we liked. Typically, one broad audience works best. We can also define further. So we could say they have to like pickleball and, I could say tennis, right? So now it would be people have to have an interest in pickleball and tennis versus just pickleball or tennis, right? If I had the tennis right here, it would just be an or. This makes it a and. That makes sense. So that's where you can now go ahead and define some of your audience targeting. Placements. I do edit placements. And this is basically telling Meta where you want it to show your ads. Some of these placements just get zero traction. So if we work our way through here, we can see that there's 23 included and 0 excluded. So what I'm going to come in is I'm just going to click, and if you missed that, I just clicked on the pencil right here, and now it's going to open up the ability for me to exclude certain things. So if I click on the drop down arrow for feeds, I want to keep Facebook feeds, I want to remove profile feeds, I want to remove Instagram profile feeds, I want to remove Marketplace, I want to keep Explore, I want to remove Explore Home, I want to remove Business Explore, I want to remove Threads, and I want to remove Facebook notifications. So in the first feed column, I'm only choosing Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds, right column, and Instagram Explore. Now for stories, we'll keep Instagram stories, we'll keep Facebook stories, we're going to remove Messenger stories, we're going to keep Reels, we're going to remove profile feeds, or profile Reels, and we're going to keep Facebook Reels. So in here we have stories for IG and Facebook, we have Instagram Reels, and we have Facebook Reels. We're going to turn off in-stream ads altogether, we're going to turn off search results altogether, and we're going to turn off apps and sites altogether. Now, notice right here, even though we've excluded placements, Meta's still trying to force us to spend on those placements. You can turn this off. I don't want any ad spend going to any of those placements because they just never yield results. So now we've got 15 included and 15 excluded. This means that we're just spending all of our money on the highest yield placements. From here, once you've set up your targeting and all that good stuff, you're good to go, and you can actually create your first ad. So here's how I set these up. Let's say we have 10 images. All I do is I name this image 1, and then I scroll through and I set it up as so. First thing I do is I click on the ad preview so I can actually get a preview of what my ad's going to look like. And scrolling through, we can choose manual upload is fine, flexible is fine. We can turn off multi-advertiser ads unless it is a multi-advertiser ad. Media, this is where we choose our media. So you can click add media, you can add an image or a video. If I want to add an image, I can upload an image by clicking upload. But for this example, I'll just choose one from my library already. We'll click continue. Now, here's where we have our primary text. This is where we put our main copy. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste in my copy. One kind of tip here is I always put the URL for whatever I'm linking the ad to in the copy as well. This definitely increases your overall CTR, your click-through rate. Next is going to be your headline. So I'm just pulling this directly from the ad we're actually running. So the headline, as you'll see, we'll do free thinking lessons. The headline shows up right here, and it's going to update your preview. So here's our primary text that we just created. Here's our headline right here. And description, I typically don't even do. Destination URL, this is where you will put the URL that you are sending your ads to. So your opt-in page, your sales page, whatever. Your call to action, you have a few choices. Depending on the call to action, I always either do learn more or get offer. This is just changing this button right here. And that's it. So once I'm ready to get this going, I can just go ahead and I can click publish. And this is going to go ahead and publish the ad. Now what I would do is I would just click right here where it says edit, and I would go right back into my ad, and I would click these three dots and I would click duplicate, turn off. Again, it's trying to force a recommendation here, so always be on the lookout for these. Turn off that forced recommendation. Keep it in the original campaign, click duplicate, and now I'm just going to name this image 2. And all I would do is come in here and remove this media and click add image. Click on my next one. And now I have image 2. And I go ahead and publish, and I just continue to follow this method over and over again until I've got all of my images published. Then what's going to happen is your campaign will go through a review process. Should not take long. It will take longer for newer accounts. And once your ads are reviewed, they'll start going live. Now, one thing to take into consideration as well is that, again, if you're brand new, Meta is going to charge you like every $2 in ad spend. So if you see a bunch of $2 transactions, that's normal. It's Meta making sure that you can actually pay for your ads. And that's it. If you follow this to a T, you will have the best possible Meta ads framework, assuming you have an offer that is actually valid. And if you want to get a detailed diagnostic of your ads and your funnel, click the link down below or in the pinned comment, answer a few questions, and you'll get that information in seconds. If you found the video to be helpful, go ahead and give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel for more. Thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.